Here. Today I have the pièce de résistance to show you, or as Jerry Lewis used to say, the pièce de résistance. I have a project that I have been working on for about a year now, and finally I'm done. It is my new laptop bag. No, just joking. Some of you have already seen some of this on social media. This is my short-barreled rifle. I know that the first time I showed this to people, some of you went, "Wow, Abner has lost his mind." Stick with me. I'm going to show you something. Imagine that you are at your place of work and you start hearing gunshots. Wouldn't it be nice to have a shoulder-mounted weapon with you that can deliver accurate fire very quickly? Because that's the key. You can be accurate, but if you're not accurate quickly, well, you know, good luck with that, because bad guys move. What you're looking at here is 2 pounds, 13 ounces, fully loaded, and this is actually a 17 rounder. If you put a 19 rounder in this weapon with 115 grain jacketed hollow point, the weapon weighs in at 2 pounds 13 ounces. There are many little facets about this weapon that I want to go over with you. The most important of which is that it is the same weapon that I have on my person at all times. All this is a Glock 17 with a Glock stock, with a stock and a forward grip on it. The stock and the forward grip are from Fab Defense. You can get them here in America through Mako Group. Right off the bat, let's address the shortcomings of the Glock. The Glock has no safety. No problem, because Glocks are designed to be in holsters. When it's not in a holster, it's presumed that the gun is out doing work. When the gun returns to its holster, the holster becomes the safety. Cool. Well, what if you don't have the ability to holster this? You can, because you can actually make a holster that would accept this. But what I just showed you is the safety. This forward grip, I mean, if you really want to get picky, you can do that. This forward grip is the safety. But all you have to do is fold it down, and if you have it fully extended, you can retract it very quickly. This grip becomes the safety for this weapon, and it also is a very nice stabilization point. The other question that I know some of you are going to have is it going to hit me in the face if I shoot it with the stock collapsed? No. There's your answer right there. Look at how much room I've got between the back of this thing and my nose. So even if it's flexing, and I'm really pushing back as hard as I can to flex it, even if it's flexing, it's not going to hit me in the nose. I've done it. I've shot this thing like this, which would be the hasty way of shooting it. It comes out of the bag and very hastily brought up, racked, put to your shoulder, and you start firing. What I like about this setup is that it fuels off the same mags as my everyday carry handgun. And as I've shown you guys in the past, I have one 17 rounder in my pistol, chambered, so that's 18. And I have an extra 19, I have 3 extra 19 rounders on my person at all times. Then in the bag, I also have a chest rig that has 5 extra mags and an extra pistol. I had to turn the pistol inward so that it would drop down into the bag, but it's as simple as pulling the tab and rotating the pistol out, or you can leave it there just like that, no big deal, because you could still get to 4 extra mags here, and even if you needed to, you could get to the 5th mag. But so with this setup, I have all the extra ammunition and medical that I need, and I have a shoulder-mounted weapon for accurate fire on the enemy, and I even have a sling. The sling is made of high-grade shot cord, and like I said earlier, you can fire this collapsed. Here's the cool, as if there aren't enough cool things about this. If you do this, collapse it, stick it here, you've now in essence holstered this weapon. So you can transition to your handgun if you need to, and you can go back to it at a moment's notice by simply pulling it out and folding it down. The realization for me was truly registering in my mind that I was not going to have an AR-15 with me. I'm just not. AR-15s by their very nature are just too big to easily conceal. You're not going to pull it off easily, and to do so, you're going to have a specialized backpack that's designed for concealing that AR-15. With this, and let me address the other issue, which is going to be, sure, you can have an MP5K, you can have a Scorpion, although the Scorpion is even collapsed, it's a relatively large weapon. You can have something like a B&T TP9, or if you have a machine gun license, an MP9, okay? Great weapons. But remember, those weapons don't fuel off the same mags as your handgun. So at a moment's notice, I can drop this mag, grab the mag out of my belt, stick it in, even grab the mag out of my pistol, stick it in and keep trucking. You can't do that with other weapons that are handgun and PDR, SMG, whatever. To get to this point, there were multiple steps. Initially, I tried this with just a standard Glock with sights on it, with standard sights. Found that I couldn't really get the visual landmarks off the sights that I needed because, you know, handgun sights are designed for this distance right here. Between my eye and the front sight post, I've got a predetermined distance. Once I bring this to here, everything changes dramatically. My rear sight aperture becomes so wide that there's so much visual slop on either side of that front sight post that now I'm trying to figure out which way am I pointing this weapon. I needed to write that out of the equation, which is why I went to the Way of the Gun Proctor Y-notch sights, dynamite sights, best I've ever shot. Problem is, even with them, even though that the rear is very narrow, once you bring those close to your eye, you still have, you know, you go from here to, I guess it's about right here. Even though there's less visual slop with these, there's still enough. And what's interesting is I've actually had a decent amount of accuracy, as you can see in the video feed. I thought, but I still need to focus on an optic. So from there I got a hold of the Fab Defense, the top mount that you see, and put it on the Glock, but I found that there was a lot of physical slop in that Glock, in the optic setup. And from there I thought, well, maybe it's the mount. So I went ahead and I spent the money and I bought myself a 6-second mount from ALG Defense. Which is super, super nice, precision-made aircraft aluminum. So I put it on, same exact problem. I could not get a 0 to save my life. And understand, I need to get a 0 that's better than what I can deliver with a pistol, because if I can deliver, you know, decent-sized groups with a handgun at 25 yards, and I can't do any better with this thing, why am I bothering? What I found was, it didn't matter what I was putting on the gun for a mount. It was mounting to the accessory rail, to this area right here. And I'm going to bring this very close to the camera, and I want you to see right here. You see what happens? When you wang on this thing like this, it causes separation. If your mount is mounted where this thing is mounted right here, and your mount basically goes over the top, and then your optic sits on top of that mount, and you do this. Watch right here. And you do this, or this, or this. What you have done to your optic is, you do this, your optic goes like that. This, your optic goes like that. This, your optic goes like this. And you wouldn't think it'd be that big of a deal at 5, 10, 15 yards, but it really is. I was missing not by this much, I was missing by this much. I was missing by this much. And I kept thinking, if that's the best I can do, then why am I bothering? And what I was trying to get around, I was resisting getting into doing this. The reason for it was the people that do slide work have very, very long wait times. I lucked out, and talking to a buddy of mine over at Tactical Firearm Solutions over in Ringgold, Georgia, he said, oh yeah, I got just a master machinist named Daniel Moore who does really, really great work. And I went over to see Daniel, and probably the first thing that came out of his mouth after nice to meet you was, I love math. And I thought, okay, that's cool. The man loves math. To do what Daniel does, you better love math, because his work is so precise. I gave him the slide, he wrote the program, did a super, super nice job, and even created 2 little tabs at the front for the RMR to nest against. There are some folks in the industry who do this who actually don't even make those little tabs. They're trusting on the screws holding it in place. The lockup between the RMR and the slide is so tight that you have to really finagle that optic to slide down in there. He did such a beautiful job of perfectly following the contours of an RMR that to get it in, you have to get it just so and get it kind of jostled, nestled down in there. Once I got this thing on here and zeroed, I was able to start delivering very, very rapid hits. Now, where this slightly goes off the rails, and I'm going to be completely honest about this, is that this is the RMR 08G, which is the Delta. It's got a great big green triangle. And I wanted what my eyes are accustomed to, which is a red dot. And I kept resisting the RMR08. And like a fool, I took this off, put on an RMR06 2 days prior to a class a couple weekends ago. Went to the class and absolutely embarrassed myself. Couldn't hit anything to save my life. And the reason I'm saying this is I can't slide this under the wire and lie to you guys, because there were a lot of guys at that class that I deeply respect that saw the abysmal performance that I did with this weapon. But what they don't remember is that 2 classes prior to that, I came out with the Generation 1 of this weapon without optics, just the Proctor Y-notch sights, and hammered everything in sight. Chase Jenkins can attest to that because he actually commented, he asked me, was the weapon accurate? And I was hitting everything. So when I came back home, I went full circle, got out the RMR08G. By the way, discovered that the RMR06 that I had was damaged. But the RMR08G, which is fiber optic driven, it really is the better choice here. And the reason for that is this is a get in the bag, stay in the bag weapon. A few days ago, I went to Walmart and I purchased this Swiss Gear laptop bag, and it's like a whole 29 bucks. So that's the other thing. Tactical comes with a steep price tag. If you can find good quality bags over the counter, Best Buy, Walmart, Amazon, whatever, get them because they serve the purpose. This bag beautifully holds the weapon, which I've taken to calling this GS, by the way, Glock stock. It fits down in this bag. And actually, before I get into that, what I do want to tell you is this. You want to take into account how you're planning on employing this weapon. What I mean by that is, the reason this weapon is so small and so light, and the reason it's carried in a very innocuous looking bag is, I want to be able to walk in and out of anywhere without anybody giving me a second glance. And no matter how you're dressed, if you're carrying one of these, people automatically think computer. What this bag is about is the ability to have medical on my person. You know, the back pocket is for the chest rig, the front pocket is for the weapon itself. But I'm going to ask you a quick question. The Swiss Gear logo is what? Okay. What is the international symbol for medical help? The Red Cross. So I've trained all my family members and anyone who's ever around me, traveling with me, I train them. This is the international symbol for medical help. There it is again. If you open the front pocket of this pouch, I've got all kinds of medical stuff in here. I'm not going to bother showing you what's in here because that's none of your business. But I've got a lot of medical stuff. Because remember, this entire section here encompasses all the medical that I have with me. A medic that was at a class that I went to a couple weeks ago with Talon Defense and Ditch Medicine said something that I added into the medical videos that I released to the class. I would urge you to watch the videos, they're great. He said something to the tune of, a true warrior goes into a fight not only with the ability to take life, but with the ability to preserve life. And that really is the key. If I go into a fight with the ability to end life, but I don't go into the fight with the ability to preserve life, then I've only half planned for that fight. I've got to make sure that I've got the tools to stop that killer, and that I've got the tools to deal with the mess that he's created. I know that the question a lot of you guys have is, what's the accuracy of this weapon? Come on, let's take a look. The stock, the sling that I have for this weapon is essentially shot cord. I mentioned it earlier, but I want to point it out to you again. I originally had tried ordinary webbing, which is, you know, the good thick stuff. And I found that ordinary webbing, when it gets behind the trigger of the handgun, you can't pull the trigger. If it comes loose from the stock and finds its way inside of this, inside of the trigger, which is feasible because this weapon is sitting in the bag and it gets jostled a lot. So what I chose to do here was, instead of paracord, which is what I went to after the webbing, paracord would not stay put and was always coming loose. The design of this weapon is meant to come up and out of the bag, pull this down, rack it, and get to work. If I have the opportunity, I want to deploy the sling, yes. The reason I chose to go to shot cord is it stays put on the stock. It is almost invisible on the stock, meaning from a use standpoint. When I need it, I flick this piece off and it self-unwinds. And I take it, drop the weapon, grab the shot cord, pass it over the neck. I learned the hard way. It'll catch you if you don't pass it completely over your head first. Then your arm, and now you've got control of the weapon. This gives me the ability to extend this weapon in any direction, and the shot cord goes with me. Also, when I need to retain the weapon for any number of reasons, it stays put. It's not so tight that it's choking me, because there really is a lot of give here, but it has enough strength to hold the weapon. Like I said earlier, loaded is 2 pounds 13 ounces, empty it's like 2 pounds 2 ounces. So the shot cord has enough strength to hold this weapon. What I like about it is, when I have to come out of the weapon, all it is that right there. You don't have to fight to get out of this, and this weapon is not heavy enough that if you end up going in water it's going to sink you, which is why there's no emergency release buckle on it. I just want it simple. The targets right here are as close as 3 yards. The targets all the way out there are almost 50 yards away. It has a 25-yard zero, point of aim, point of impact. There we go. You can tell distance is becoming a problem now. All right, 50-yard shots. At 50 yards, the delta in this thing is a real challenge. Inside of CQB range, what you find is that your point of aim, point of impacts are about the same. And remember, all these targets that I was shooting are target plates about that big. They're very, very tiny shots. They're very precise shots. I have the ability to get around people's body armor if I have to with this weapon. I have the ability to pick a bad guy off of a good guy if I have to with this weapon. Can I do it with a handgun? Probably. I'm great bordering on an excellent shot. But do you want me taking your life into my hands with a pistol if I have the ability to have a rifle? Because that's really what this is. This is a short-barreled rifle. Those of you who live in the Chattanooga area understand, last year about this time we got attacked. What San Bernardino experienced last year, what Orlando experienced last weekend, what Texas experienced a couple days ago, we already experienced last year. Once you get attacked by a terrorist, you enter a fraternity. Unfortunately, it's a negative fraternity, but you enter a fraternity of people who recognize things changed. They're never going back to the way they were. Do I think guns are the answer? No. I think God is the answer. Do I think guns help? Yeah. Do I think that being a prepared citizen helps? Yes. And that's what I'm getting at with this. Enough people are waking up into this reality that they have to start preparing. The fight is no longer over there. It's over here now. You know what? Let's throw the bad guys off balance for a change. Let's make them start worrying about who's carrying what in a backpack. And for those of you law enforcement officers who are school resource officers, here's your weapon. Because you can't carry your AR-15 with you, but you can certainly carry this with you from classroom to classroom while you're doing your DARE program. Remember guys, I used to be a cop. I know the way you guys are required to do your job. Please consider presenting this to your chief or your sheriff. This is a viable option. And if you need a demo, let me know. You can get a hold of me. As always, I thank you guys for watching. God bless you all. Get those guns out in practice. Have a good one. Oop. There we go.